Started, but thanks again for being here today. Yeah, so just welcoming again for another session of the exploration of mindfulness, meditation, ways of getting to know ourselves better, what we're thinking, how we feel, tuning into that a little bit more as a way to just get to know ourselves better, to maybe see what makes us reactive, what gives us calm, what gives us ease, and hopefully encouraging the latter through these various techniques that we talk about here. So just really grateful that you're here today. So we'll start as we usually do with just an initial, what we call a grounding meditation to really arrive. So this is our opportunity to let go of the whole process of clicking and screens and arriving and whatever you might have been doing before this or whatever you've been thinking about you're going to be doing after this. Just this is the opportunity to let that drop and give ourselves the gift of coming inwards. So the invitation is to find a posture that's comfortable for you, sitting, standing, lying down, some way to feel supported so you don't feel like you have to fidget around and move for the next few minutes. So feeling that support, whatever it is, the chair, a bed, a couch, the floor. So really feeling that support, grounding in that, resting in that. And from that, inviting the spine to be long, upright, to the extent possible that makes sense. So just inviting a little bit of uprightness, which invites alertness of the mind and the body. But then also not having that be tight, so having a sense of relaxation. So these three parts, the grounding, feeling the support, the uprightness of the body, but also a sense of relaxation. And if you're comfortable, closing the eyes, or if not, just having a soft gaze, not looking around. So this is your time to let go of the arriving past, thinking about the future, coming into the present, and the bell will be the invitation. So with the fading of the sound of the bell, we can just do a check-in to see how it is right now. What's the general mood of the mind? Is it still busy, thinking, planning, agitated, or is it a little calmer now that it's quiet? And nothing's good or bad, however the mind is, it's just like this. And the body, how's the body? Is it relaxed? Is there tension, agitation, ease? And again, we don't make a judgment about it, we just notice it's like this. So just being present with what's here right now. So our usual mode in the world is to be either thinking about the past or regretting something or planning the future. We're living in other time zones. This is the invitation to be present right here, right now with what's happening in this mind, in this body right here. So setting that intention to, as best we can, pay attention, to be curious and interested in what's actually happening right here. And one kind of fun way to approach that, to invite the curiosity, is asking yourself, how do I know I'm here? How do I know I'm here? So there's this knowing, this awareness, and the sense of being here. How do we know we're here? So this is a sensory experience that our awareness can be aware of. And so it may come in different ways. Maybe you know you're here by the sounds that are around you. I'm here in this room. Or I'm here on this Zoom session by the sound of my voice. So these external sounds that are received, the awareness can know that I'm here, right now. So what are the external sounds? Can we be interested in the simple experience of receiving external sound in this present moment? This voice, whatever sounds are around you, Or maybe there's internal sounds. Maybe you hear the sound of your heartbeat, or some of us have a kind of electronic buzzing in the ears, tinnitus, some people call it. Maybe you hear the sound of your breath. So we have sounds. And can we be interested in what's happening here? With these sounds, they're telling us that we're aware that we're here. And maybe the mind isn't interested in that, it's thinking about the past and the future again. And if so, we just notice that. And then come back to sounds, being present right here with whatever sounds you hear. Or maybe if sound isn't interesting to the mind, about sensations in the body tell us that we're here. So maybe there's the sense of just the body here, knowing that you're in a room. You know, there's out there, but there's just this overall sense of the body here. Or maybe you have a sense of the body through the pressure that you feel, your feet on the floor, your body against whatever is supporting it, or the sensation of air or clothing touching your skin, or maybe an itch. So there's these sensations of the body that tell us we're here. Can we be interested in those? Or the internal sensations of the body breathing, breathing in, breathing out. Maybe the heartbeat, we sense that as a throbbing. Or maybe there's a sense of an itch or a pain, what we label as pain, a strong sensation. All of these sensations help us remember that we're here, right now. And can we get interested in knowing what's happening right here? And maybe there are thoughts that keep coming up. Am I doing this right? We can find ourselves thinking, maybe we're lost and thinking about the past or the future, but the knowing can just know I am thinking, right? So whatever's coming up, whether it's a sound, a sensation, a thought, this knowing quality of the mind can know each experience moment to moment. So maybe just receive them. If there's one type that you want to focus on, you can do that, or just receive whatever's happening in this moment. Now this, now this. So just receiving, and the mind just knowing. So we're grounding in the present moment. We're grounding and knowing what's happening right here, right now. Whether it's a thought, a body sensation, a sound. All of these things are happening moment to moment. And we can just be aware of them. So we can check in again and just notice, is the mind present with this moment to moment experience? And if so, how is the mood of the mind? Is it calm? Is it agitated? Curious? Sleepy? Whatever it is, just noticing it's like this in this moment. Again, overall, just get a sense of how the overall body is. Is it calm, agitated, restless, collapsing, no energy? How is it? And none of this is right or wrong. We just notice it's just like this. But we're knowing it. We're knowing ourselves. We're knowing our experience directly. with interest, with curiosity. It's like this right now. Whatever it is, can this be okay? And now this, can this be okay? This is our practice. So the bell invites us to bring the awareness back to the surface and notice whatever you might have noticed during that meditation, that little exploration. Was the mind bored, or was it interested? Was it in the past or the future? Was it present? And again, not judging any of it, just noticing what happened. It probably changed throughout that whole just few moments of meditating. And then let it go and come back to being aware of being here again. So that little exploration is kind of a lead-in to what I thought might be kind of fun. Sometimes we get a little, it feels like we get too serious, and sometimes the practice can just be a fun exploration of like, what is really going on here? Like, do we ever really know? We think we know. If we're thinking all the time, we think, oh, I know what's going on. I know what I did. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm planning to do. Da 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 da. It goes on and on. And so we spend most of our time thinking, but less time being actually aware of what's actually happening right here. And we talk about this a lot, But this thinking, this needing to know, right? That means information or planning. That's what we think of as knowing. But there's this other kind of knowing that we just explored in that little meditation. This awareness, this consciousness, whatever label you want to put on it. Just something. We're alive and we know. We don't have to go through the effort of thinking. We just know, like this. It's like this. And isn't that kind of a miracle? And it's also can be a relief. We don't have to do anything. The knowing is just there, and we can just experience it and experience how the different ways that we do know. If we're in thinking mode, maybe we'll feel the tension of having to figure something out or regretting or whatever. We can feel tension around this needing to figure things out by constantly living in the thinking mind. But we can also, through this practice, explore other ways of just knowing our experience and learning from that rather than thinking knowledge, book knowledge, planning, etc. Just knowing through direct experience through this mind and this body. So this may or may not interest you, but I find it kind of fascinating, which is why I'm talking about it today. It's sort of what I've been exploring the past week or so, because I've been thinking too much and being stressed out, and I find if I just come back to the present, I'm a little calmer and I can just receive what's going on rather than have to figure anything out. So it takes the burden of that away. So I'm just inviting you to explore this with me today. That's what the invitation is, to be curious about these different aspects of knowing and knowing, what is happening now in this mind and this body, getting to know ourselves better, seeing what comes up and what causes reactivity, whether it's a physical sensation in the body that causes us to be uncomfortable, or a thought that comes up that causes us to be uncomfortable. We can notice those kinds of things. And we can notice when we just kind of step back from all the kind of the doing aspect of it, and when we can just receive what's happening without having to pass judgment on it, without having to do anything, we can just be present with it. And that's another way of knowing, and notice if that feels uncomfortable or if it actually feels like a relief. So it's this kind of exploration that I would like to invite. And in the next meditation, I'll guide through different ways of perceiving or knowing, and just kind of tune into, how that works for your mind or your body. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it'll all put you to sleep, or maybe it'll make you anxious because you're not used to relating in this way. But whatever's happening, just kind of keep that exploration going. Like, what am I inviting myself to do? What's actually happening? And how does that feel? Does it make me feel calmer or more agitated, more relaxed or more stressed out? So we can do this not just in meditation, we can take into our daily life too, but this is where our practice period is, right? So we do this in the calm of our own home, training the mind to do this observation so we can learn about ourselves. So that's the invitation, this thing about thinking versus knowing, directly experiencing what's happening, how we're relating to whatever the mind is aware of, right? And we'll invite different ways of doing that. So blah, 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 enough talking about it, right? Let's actually do it. What is she talking about? I don't get this, And if anything that I present, feels frustrating as we're going through it, just go back to doing whatever feels comfortable and wait for the next invitation and see if that one works better. All this is part of the exploration. So retaking your meditation posture, whatever that is, where you feel supported. So feeling that grounding of the support, being able to rest in whatever is supporting the body, feeling the uprightness again, but also the relaxation. Closing the eyes if you're comfortable, or just having a soft gaze, not looking around, because this invites more internal exploration and less external distraction. And again, the bell is going to be our invitation to begin. So the bell invites us to let go of all that theorizing and coming into the direct experience right here, right now. And once again, beginning by just noticing how it is in this mind, the general mood of the mind, energy of the mind. Not judging, just noticing. And the body, how's the body? Just overall sense of how is it right now? Calm, agitation, relaxation, sleepiness, low energy, whatever it is, it's like this. And we'll set the intention then in this meditation to just explore with curiosity different ways of knowing. So that's our intention, just to be open to explore with curiosity different ways of knowing, listening for an instruction, inviting the mind to be in that way, and noticing what happens, what works, what doesn't work, but all the time taking care of ourselves. If something's stressful or confusing, just letting it go and coming back to something that feels grounding and waiting for the next instruction. Doing all of this with a sense of curiosity and exploration. So the first invitation is similar to what we did in the first meditation. The invitation is to just notice changing experience. So like we did the first time, noticing sounds, body sensations, internal, external, maybe noticing the breath or the heart or a sensation in the body, sounds. Thoughts are going to come up, let them come and go. So just setting the intention to be curious about, to interested in these different things that the mind is aware of. And you could even label each one. So sound, thinking, pressure, heart, breath, thinking, sound, all coming and going. So that's the first invitation. It's being present with each experience, giving it a light label if you're comfortable, not getting over-structured. Just watching each one come and go. A sound, a thought, a sensation. Noticing, labeling, and letting the next one arise. And we can check in and see if we are still just observing moment to moment experience, changing, maybe giving a label, or if the mind's off, caught on something, a strong body sensation, sleeping, or thinking, just noticing whatever's happening, notice how it is in the mind and the body. And then resetting the intention to just notice changing experience. Sounds, sensations, thoughts, breath, all coming and going. And the experiencing mind, just noticing each one, knowing what it is. And notice if we're still experiencing these changing sensations, thoughts, sounds, or if we've gotten lost in thought or drowsiness, just noticing whatever it is, how it's experienced in the mind and the body, and resetting the intention to come back to the changing experience. Knowing, labeling each one as we experience it. A sound, a thought, a breath, a heartbeat, another thought, all coming and going. Noticing what the mind's paying attention to. Are we still interested, curious about this moment-to-moment experience? Or is the mind drifted off somewhere, caught on something else? Just noticing. And then reset the intention to just come back to changing experience, lightly naming each one to keep the mind engaged. Knowing thoughts, pressure, breath, heartbeat, sounds, all coming and going. And the mind just knowing each as it comes and knowing the next as it comes. Checking in to see what the mind is aware of, changing experience or something else, and how that feels in the body and the mind. Not judging good or bad, it's just like this, whatever's happening. And then I'll invite, you can either keep doing what you're doing, labeling your experience, or if it makes sense to you, try softening and widening your attention. So rather than kind of looking for each experience as it arrives, kind of stepping back from it and just being receptive. So inviting the quality of receptivity rather than looking for something, just receiving something. So softening, widening the attention, but still just noticing things changing. So now maybe there's not as strong a label attached to it. We just receive maybe the pulse of the heart without actually naming it, with the rhythm of the breath. So just receiving that, receiving thoughts as they come and go. We're not owning any of these, we're just receptive. Now a thought, now a sound, now a sensation in the body. So this receptive quality of knowing, so it's less engaged, it's more of an observer than a doer. Just receiving each sound, each body sensation, each thought as they arise in awareness. So receptive knowing. Feeling wide, spacious. Inviting this receptivity. And see what happens. Receiving thoughts, sounds, sensations, all coming and going. This receptive awareness, just knowing their passing and their arrival. And noticing if this receptivity approach works. It's just receiving, not needing to do anything with it. We just receive each experience. And then watch it move. And then the next one comes up. But if this doesn't work for you, for some reason, you can go back to naming each one, being more actively engaged. So just judging what keeps the mind interested and curious in this experience, this changing experience. Receptive knowing, or if necessary, going back to labeling. Sounds, sensation, breath, thought, all coming and going. The mind's just aware, just knowing this, and now this. Can we stay interested? So are we still aware of the experience coming and going? Just receiving, letting things move on? Or are we caught in some way? You can notice that too. That happens. Just noticing whatever you're experiencing, how it feels in the mind and the body. And then resetting the intention, just to have receptive awareness, just the mind stepping back and just receiving, knowing without going out in search of. Maybe it even feels like there's a little more space around each thing that comes up. A pause where nothing's happening. Maybe that's a possibility too. Can we notice no thing arising? Can we stay interested, curious? This, and now this. And however you're knowing what your experience is, right, there's these objects that we're aware of, right? There's a sound, a thought, a sensation that's being known. Those are changing, but there's this knowing, this awareness that's continuous and not changing. So there's this background knowing as the objects change that it's aware of. And maybe you can't notice this, maybe the mind is too busy or too sleepy to see it, but inviting that possibility of observing between objects being known, there's a space and there's just knowing. And we can explore this even more deeply, maybe through a visualization. So if we soften the attention yet again and not pay attention to the objects, but actually pay attention to the awareness, and the invitation is to imagine this knowing, this mind, like a big blue sky. So the mind is expansive, like this experience of knowing is expansive like the sky. Big, clear blue sky. We can be aware of that just knowing. Oh, and then objects will come up into that knowing, like clouds moving through the blue sky. So a cloud of thought, a cloud of a sensation, a cloud of a sound may arise in this big, spacious mind of knowing. But our attention is on the knowing itself. And then we can just see these things cup into it, like clouds appearing in a blue sky. So play around with that image, see if that works for you. So inviting a broad, spacious mind, just observing this quality of knowing. And then notice if things come up in there, a thought, a sound, a sensation. Just moving through, and then more just clear knowing. And then something else comes up. And if that doesn't work for you, just go back to observing things coming and going. But invite that spaciousness, that sense of a relaxed, open mind, observing what comes through, like clouds through the sky. Can we be aware of this background of knowing, just awareness, and then seeing things move through the awareness, like in a foreground or like clouds through the sky. Objects come up, thoughts, sounds, sensations, coming and going. And this background awareness of just knowing. So there's the knowing, and then there's the objects being known, the background and the foreground. And notice how each one feels. And again, just re-inviting this open, spacious awareness, whatever's happening. Just seeing objects coming up in that awareness. Things are constantly coming and going if we don't hold on to them. And then there's just this knowing of them. This is coming, oh, it's gone, and now this. It's gone, now this. So however you're sensing your experience right now, is this open awareness, or is this receptive awareness, just receiving things happening, or as somebody experiencing, just notice how that feels. And with curiosity, this exploration, get to know ourselves better. It's like this right now, in this mind, this body. It's like this. And however it is, can this be okay? So the bell is inviting us to bring the awareness back to the surface. Just reflect a little bit on what your experience was. Again, not judging it, just noticing what you might have learned. And then letting that go and being aware of just coming back together again here. So all of this hopefully was a little bit of fun. Maybe it was frustrating, some of these are weird concepts maybe, but this idea of being curious and exploring to get to know ourselves better. And this, one of my teachers uses this foreground background thing. So like when you feel yourself really wrapped up in some situation, like sometimes if we can just step back from it, we're all wrapped up in the foreground, all the doing and the figuring and the the pain or whatever it is. If we can just go like, what else is happening? And then if we can step back a little bit and give it some space, sometimes that allows us to have just a little bit of that spaciousness allows us to have a little bit of a break, a little bit of a relief. So that's why it's kind of fun to play with this sort of thing and, see what happens, see how your mind relates to it. And even if you're resistant to it today, I just encourage you to play with it a little bit, because the first time it can be a little frustrating. It's like, what is that all about? But just that's where the curiosity comes in, the exploration. Like, what happens if I do just step back, if I don't take this personally, if I don't have to do anything about this? Give it some space, stepping back into the background and see if we can see a bigger picture that's maybe a little less tense. So that's today's exploration. Hopefully there was something that was helpful. It's you never know, but hopefully there was something there. And if not, we'll try this again next week and see what happens. But just grateful that you're here, doing this exploration here as we try to figure out how to